I find that a general principle about life, especially in the contemporary world, is that it is imperative to use at least some form of deception and manipulation in order to establish any sort of real world success or any iota of power in the world. Whether you like to admit or not, the concept of deception and manipulation has been a key aspect of our interpersonal nature since the emergence of business, warfare, and civilization as a whole. You see, that's the very interesting thing about manipulation, about learning it. It can be used as a means of defense as much as it can be used as a means of offense. Therefore, those who desire to flourish in many of today's fields must deem it necessary in order to employ deception and manipulation in order to succeed and gain power in this world. Or as I would like to put it, those who desire to lead must learn how to deceive. Deception and manipulation is very cunning and it is very dirty. But the thing is, whoever said that business and warfare wasn't dirty or cunning either? A very popular story in Greek mythology is that there was once a king named Odysseus. And Odysseus wanted to conquer Troy. And in order to conquer Troy, he needed to think outside the box, right? So what he decided to do was within 3 days, 72 hours, he decided to build a massive wooden horse and give this horse, called a Trojan, to the city of Troy as a gift of victory. Little did they know that in the very same exact wooden horse, there lied 30 or so of Odysseus's most powerful and most resilient men, most trusted men. They ambushed it, won the city of Troy, and as a result, they became the victors and ultimately they won the war. And instead of the city of Troy, they were the ones who proudly preached the sound of victory. Even though this is most probably a fictional story, merely only a legend, these acts of deception, whether it is, no matter how subtle or grand it is, have been replayed over and over throughout history in warfare. Tens of thousands of battles, probably more, have taken place throughout history, throughout human civilization. And in all of these battles, at least almost every single one, some sort of technique of manipulation and deception was employed in order to gain a strategic advantage in their war. Now, in terms of a militaristic standpoint, it's kind of a given that manipulation and deception is needed in order to gain an advantage. But what if I told you that it is as imperative, if not more imperative, to gain an advantage in today's world by learning manipulation and deception, to not only defend yourself against it, but to also employ it. The same manipulation and deception used in warfare and in the military is almost as imperative, if not more imperative, to use in today's world from an interpersonal standpoint to gain the same strategic advantage. A clear strategic mindset that every single strategist must know how to learn is having the knowledge and know-how of their enemy's attacks, whether direct or indirect, to either preemptively avoid them or to use it as a counterattack. Having this in your arsenal puts you in an extremely advantageous position. And from there, only you are in power. of what to do next and how to handle it. Whether you like to admit it or not, the concept of deception and manipulation, it has been a key aspect of our interpersonal nature since the emergence of business, warfare, and civilization as a whole. Deception and manipulation is very cunning and it is very dirty. But the thing is, whoever said that business and warfare wasn't dirty or cunning either? Therefore, those who desire to flourish in many of today's fields must deem it necessary in order to employ deception and manipulation in order to succeed and gain power in this world. Or as I would like to put it, those who desire to lead must learn how to deceive. You see, that's the very interesting thing about manipulation, about learning it. It can be used as a means of defense as much as it can be used as a means of offense. So you may ask this question: why should I learn manipulation if I have no intention to deceive or manipulate others, even if it is for my own gain? So that you can navigate these interpersonal dynamics without having to be needlessly exploited or manipulated for what you may have or what you may potentially offer to those who intend to deceive or manipulate you. That's why, for one reason or another, it is essential to learn how to manipulate. As if you rely on people's goodwill, which is never a good idea, in order to traverse interpersonal dynamics, then you will encounter hurt, you will encounter feeling stupid and inadequate and needless hurt. If you can defend yourself against it, then all of that can be preemptively avoided. Many people in this world, whether you like it or not, are willing to deceive and manipulate you. And the thing is with that, it's going to happen eventually, especially if you desire success and success gravitates towards you and you gain it somehow, some way, whether it's in one manifestation or the next, whether it's in one person or the next, they're going to intend to happily exploit you for what you have in order to gain an upper hand in the world for them personally and leave you on the wayside. So when that does occur to you, which it will, you're going to want to know how to kind of defend yourself against it. You avoid feelings of inadequacy and stupidity. You avoid feelings of hurt just by learning what deception and manipulation is. Learning how to manipulate and deceive in order to counteract manipulation and deception is like creating anti-venom from the fangs of a deadly snake. The same exact thing that is used to cause hurt is nullified and neutralized by the same exact essence of what is made to kill you. Now, in that aspect, there's a lot of poetic irony. Same way that a bullied kid, picked on by his bullies, he may want to pick up some sort of martial art, boxing, karate, something like that, in order to fend off bullies and defend himself adequately. He finds that the only viable option for him, in order to cease this violence and this injury performed against him, is to, be ready and willing to commit violence and injury to the same exact individuals who wish to do him harm or cause injury. He doesn't do this as a means of spite or revenge, although that may potentially be the truth. He does it more as a means of necessity and self-defense. As with the manipulators, and as with the anti-venom from the fangs of a deadly snake. Now, with that being said, I would like to present the proverbial flip side to this coin, that it may very well be necessary to manipulate and to deceive in order to gain a strategic advantage in life and in today's world. It may actually very well be necessary to utilize manipulation and deception. I understand why people may call it unnecessary, cruel, or even evil. But I'll explain my reasoning to why I think this now. Since I explained why and how manipulation and deception can be used as a means of defense, I am inclined to explain why it is used, or it can be used, as a means of offense. And the funny thing is, the offensive aspect of how it is used today and throughout history is more of the conventional perspective or interpretation of it. Once a person hears manipulation and deception, alarm bells go off in their head, rightfully so. It is used to hurt people, it is used to kind of mislead people or lead them on. I find that the more we advance as a species, the more we kind of deemed it necessary in order to employ deception and manipulation in our everyday lives. And therefore, it became more and more subtle and complex the more we kind of came to use it, and the more familiar we have gotten to using it. I find that a general principle about life, especially in the contemporary world, is that it is imperative to use at least some form of deception and manipulation in order to establish any sort of real world success or any iota of power in the world. All of us, I believe, to some extent use at least some form of deception and manipulation in the contemporary world in order to establish ourselves from an interpersonal perspective. From young, we learn that as children, we can lie and deceive, and we actively use that to cry and garner attention in order to kind of gain ends and attain what we want. Our amazing ability for self-awareness, it kind of grows with our ability for deception. And before we know it, we go from crying and lying as kids, these little subtle lies and half-truths that we tell as kids, to telling people what they want to hear and doing these kind of complex mental gymnastics in order to traverse the interpersonal world and kind of gain an upper hand in society, gain people's love, admiration, attention, and also gain an upper hand in the corporate world. For instance, I believe that it is essential to flatter people and attend to people's egos in order to attain some sort of success or admiration in the world. And whether people like to admit it or not, we are, as individuals, guilty of flattering and kind of attending to people's egos. I have flattered people plenty of time in order to get what I want out of them. I believe everyone, to an extent, has used flattery in their arsenal and kind of attended to people's ego, at least to some extent, in order to kind of gain what we want out of them. It may sound horrible, but that's something that humans do, and that's something that we have grown accustomed to. It's a kind of hard truth that we kind of have to shrug our shoulders at and realize that it's the way the interpersonal world is run and the way interpersonal dynamics work. Same thing as manipulating perceptions. As I said in a previous video, that's a very well prominent thing in today's society. It has been for a long time, and that counts as a form of manipulation, and that's something that we, at least the vast majority of us, are guilty of, whether we like to admit it or not. So when it comes to many of the interpersonal dynamics that we are presented with today and throughout history, we realize that it is necessary that in the interpersonal world that we must establish some sort of manipulation or deception and employ this in order to gain upper hand in the world and gain what we want. It comes into play regardless of situation or circumstance. So all in all, I believe I more or less adequately explained why it is necessary to learn manipulation or even deception. If you look at it strategically, it is greatly advantageous from not only a defensive standpoint, but an offensive one as well, where we learn to distinguish what is and what isn't manipulation based off what we know about it. And we are able to act accordingly as a result of that. So next time somebody tries to manipulate or deceive you, usually for their own gain or their own ends, then alarm bells start ringing off in your head. And then you gain a sense of clarity on what isn't and what is manipulation. Alarm bells go off in your head, you're like, okay, cool, boom, seen that before. I know how to act appropriately to the situation that has been handed to me. One thing I learned, you must be cunning in life, or use some sort of cunning in order to traverse the world. Yeah, whether that is interpersonally, romantically, familial, or whether that's in a professional setting or a corporate setting. You must learn to employ these techniques as a means of defense and offense so that you can act accordingly to the situation that's handed to you or the situation that's in front of you. You need to flatter people, you need to seduce people. That's just a part of life. That's just how we roll as human beings. We need to tell people what they want to hear and flatter them. We need to employ all these kind of dirty tricks in order to gain upper hand in the world. People don't want to hear that because, people let morals and ethics dictate who they are as individuals. But unfortunately, this is a cold world and we're going to have to deal with what's handed to us. And if that means manipulating and deceiving in order to get what we want, then we'll be more than willing to do that. And if it's not going to be you, then it's going to be somebody else. And if you're not willing to do that, then you need to learn it either way. So people are unable to use that against you. So you must observe these situations. Use your cunning and learn the tricks of the trade. In order to employ these, use it as a means of defense or offense so that you can gain a clear strategic advantage in life. So just like the bully kid who learns to pick up a form of martial arts or the anti-venom from a bite from the fangs of a deadly serpent, you must learn to hone these skills and hone the tricks of the trade and use it to whatever which means and whatever which ends that you desire. So stay prudent and let this be a subject of meditation and reflection.